Well, let's give it a shot.
Welcome to the Sports Wrap. He's George. I'm merely a ringer. Here it is, August. We're finally going to get some sleep, everybody. The Olympics are over. Thank you.
4:15, and my dog gets up at that time, and she's confused, so she wants to eat. And so she goes outside and she eats, and I'm running back and forth watching wrestling. Not what you should be doing at 4:30 in the morning. But anyway,
well, if you're going to watch wrestling, you might as well do it at an odd time of the day, because that, it kind of all mixes right in with it.
It really does. Yeah, I tell you, my wife came in and said, "You're in your happy place right now," and she walked out. But yeah, the wrestling was superb from both men and women. And,
I agree. The men and the women, especially when you got down to those the semifinals, and you knew you had the four. You knew that three of them were walking home with, going home with a medal. It seemed to open things up. But I had a couple people comment to me how different the scoring is between what we watch on college all the time, and what it was with the international, especially with the rolling a person over. You take them down, you get the 2 points. Everybody's yelling 2. Well, in college wrestling, if you roll a guy over,
that's nothing.
It's nothing. But in international, it's 2 more points.
2 points.
And if you keep rolling them over, you can end the match
quickly.
Very quickly.
Well, it's called a leg lace, and they get that leg lace in tough. And if he's rolling you really have no choice. You go where your legs go. But a little bit of the freestyle and folk style, or catch can, or whatever what we have in high school and college. One of the big differences is there's no escapes. And so when you get on the bottom, no matter what happens, if he lets you up, if you scramble, you can get a reversal, but you can't get an escape. And so if there's no escape, instead of just laying there, they get up and they start them. So 90% of freestyle is going to be from the feet.
Yeah, there's no riding time like you see in the college. So which one do you prefer? Which one do you prefer?
Well, I never at one point not disliked freestyle and folk style. That's what I was brought up at. But I learned to really like Greco. And a lot of people have told me that years ago. You keep on with it. You keep on watching. You keep on, And I would, when I go to clinics, I'd have some of these guys. A lot of Minnesota wrestlers are into Greco, and there's such a grinding type effect, and then bam. And I saw a couple. I saw at least 2-point throws, high amplitude throws, and 1 5-point throw, and 4 and 5-point throws. That's the epitome.
Sure.
So you can't attack legs, it's all upper body. And that's a sport that's 3,000 years old.
And I would say, if I could say it this way, for a guy who wants a little more action, Greco can be tough to watch. Because you're used to watching them shoot for the leg, and do those kinds of things. It's more of a purist type activity.
It took a while for me to learn to appreciate it, and then I had to talk to people that were actually doing it, and then I realized it's almost like the difference between checkers and chess. It really is. And so it's we haven't had any Greco champions for a long time. Rulon Gardner was the last one, and he beat a 3-time world champion, maybe 4-time world champion, and the world was stunned. Just absolutely stunned, but that was a long time ago. So we haven't had Greco, but I'll tell you what, these boys and the women did real well in terms of their competition, and Dave Taylor and Gable Stevenson, they kind of led the way.
Can you believe that we brought up the W word, wrestling, okay, more than like 3 or 4 minutes ago, and it took us that long to bring up Gable Stevenson? I can't believe it. I didn't think we would bring out the W word, and it would take us more than 4 seconds to talk about our favorite wrestler. If you haven't seen Gable Stevenson's match, and I mean, you got to watch the whole thing. Don't just watch the last 20 seconds.
No.
You already are going to know the result. Yeah. But unless you watch the whole thing, I don't think you appreciate the ending. Yeah, he's behind, but he was ahead almost the entire match.
Yes.
I mean, he really did not fall behind until late in the match on a
Petrosavelli rolled him through and rolled him through again for 4 points, and all of a sudden he's behind, and he realized, I gotta make something happen.
So it's 15 seconds left. He's down 3 points. He needs 2 takedowns. Well, he only had 2 takedowns the entire first 5 minutes and 45 seconds. How is he going to get 2 takedowns in the last 15 seconds? He found a way to do it, got one with 6.5. If you haven't seen it yet, he gets the last one with about 0.2 or 0.3.
3 seconds.
And he wins. He wins a gold medal, and he gets the extra point. That's where the difference was, because the opponent challenged whether he got it underneath before the buzzer went off. And so he got an extra point, so he wins 10-8. But it was crazy. I was watching it while I was getting ready to do my morning sports, and I'm screaming inside of the radio station. It was classic.
Well, it was, and when he talks about, I went through and just, he had Lazarov from Kazakhstan. He had a goal from Turkey, who was defending Olympic champion, and then he had this Munkatar from Mongolia, who was just tough as a brick, and ground him down to 5-0. But
yeah, Gable only won the first 3 matches, 23-0.
23-0. But he would explode into these people, and they were beside themselves, and then
they had no concept of how quick this guy was.
No, and it was kind of interesting about Petrosavelli. For 6'6", he dug really low. He liked low ankles and lower leg type stuff, but he had long arms. He's defending world champion and Olympic champion. This is a tough guy.
Yeah.
And I think Stevenson, first off, he's not only an incredible wrestler, he's a showman. He loves this stuff. The only thing that he was missing were the 18,000 people in the audience.
I don't think he wants to keep it that close the next time.
No,
I don't think he wants that.
Well, and they asked him, well, what were you thinking about? I don't know. It's all reactionary at that point.
Somebody told me today that he gets $250,000 for winning the gold.
Well, we can talk about that, because there seems to be a little bit of a discrepancy between American athletes and what they're getting from other places in the world. In some countries you get, thanks, that was good.
I think that's what you used to get here too. And of course, now that you're a college athlete, does this go under the NIL? Where does this $250,000 go? Does he have to set it aside till he turns professional, or till he's done with his NCAA eligibility? How does that all work? So
I'll tell you what, like Gabby Thomas, who was the last leg in the 400, she's going to get a bunch of money, but she's going to med school. She graduated from Harvard. This woman is very, very capable of doing a ton of stuff, and she can really run fast too.
She can really run fast. Yeah, it was quite the Olympics. The United States, and not to brag or anything, but they did win the most medals, the most golds, the most silvers, and the most bronze. All 4 things that you would be measured upon. They had the edge above every other country.
Well, I mean,
we talked about this. I think 2 times ago on this show. You know who did the legwork? The American women.
Yes. They were an incredible team.
The track and field team was outstanding. Yes, the men had their moments, but it was really the women that carried. I didn't go. I should have went and looked to see, out of the 113 medals that the Americans won, how many of them were won by women. And so all I'm saying is I was totally impressed with what they got done.
Allison Felix, okay, got her 10th, maybe even 11th.
She got her 11th.
So, I mean, that's the most decorated Olympian in track and field history.
Yeah.
And here she is. She's all done. She's not going to do any anymore. But I'm telling you, when she finished, she had a smile on her face from ear to ear, and you just say, "What an athlete!"
Well, I think I'm gonna piggyback that. Ah Thing Mu, okay,
Yes.
19 years old.
Yes.
She's got legs that are about this long, and she ran the 800, and she didn't even look like she was trying, and wins the gold medal. She ran the last leg of the 4x400. She was stretching the lead. I mean, it was close. There was, it was incredible.
You couldn't measure that stride with an ordinary tape measure. She really could go.
Yeah.
But you know, I tell you, and also, so you have an Italian win the 100 meters, and you have a Canadian win 200 meters. I don't recall that ever happening before.
Yeah, probably not since Ben Johnson. You know, when he was going crazy back in the 80s and winning everything. Yeah, there were a lot of surprises. I love the men's shot putters going 1-2. It had me engrossed.
Gross is incredible.
I put it up on my phone and just watched the shot putting. That's all it was. That was the only event on. And it was like an hour and 15 minutes. And I'm just like, I like watching these guys do what they do. And
he put it 3 feet past the last line. You know, I mean, this is what you shoot for.
The thing about that, Krauser threw 6 times, and he broke the old Olympic record, his old Olympic record, 5 out of those 6 throws.
5 out of the 6.
So it was fun to watch. Obviously, he set the world record at the Olympic trials. It'd have been fun to see him set the world record. I think there were only 2 world records set during the track and field events. I think
that's Carson Warhol, and he won. He got that 400-meter hurdles, and boy, did he fly! And you know, and he set that, and that's he kind of blasted. He blasted the record out.
Well, yeah, it was his record, and he beat it by over 3/4 of a second. I think that's a 46-second race.
46 seconds.
And he shaved 3/4 of a second off.
Yes, and the other one was Sydney McLaughlin.
Yeah.
And you know, and she with the women 400 hurdles, and boy did she fly.
Well, in her American country woman counterpart, she took second and also broke the world record.
Also broke the world record.
Yeah, it was the 400 hurdle records went down hard, and like I said, it was fun to watch. Like I said, I spent too much time watching, but I'll have time to get caught up real soon, I hope.
Yes, no, I'm pretty wore out by it, but I was really impressed. I mean, it was hard. It was impossible not to be impressed watching the women. This would have been the best women's Olympic team I can recall ever seeing, and they are going to do nothing better. The coaching is improved. The training is improved. I know every one of them. Did you see the arm formation in them? They spend time in the weight room. You should talk about that a little bit too. And then the other one is Jamaica. Boy, can they run!
The ladies' team can run.
They blew everybody off the track. They took 1, 2, and 3 on one.
On the 100?
On the 100 meter, and it's anyway. In terms of that, Allison Felix, Lamont Jacobs, the women from Jamaica, and Sydney McLaughlin, that was a pretty good track meet right there. Not to mention the shot putters and the discus throwers, hammer throwers. Oh.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was all very enjoyable, and of course, I can honestly say that basketball-wise, I think I watched about combined now. This is I think the American men played 6 or 7 games. I would say I watched a total of 10 minutes of men's basketball. I can watch men's basketball all winter. I don't want to watch that during the Olympics. I got other things to watch during the Olympics.
I kind of watched my friend Luka. Luka Doncic had a great Olympics.
Did you see the contract he signed today?
No, I didn't.
5 years, $207 million. That's only $41 million per year, folks.
And he's at Dallas now. He's still staying there.
Staying with Dallas. Signed the extension, 5 years, $207 million.
207.
Not too shabby, as they say.
I mean, he was just drilling them. And when he couldn't go, they had a couple of other Serbians that could play for 2 or 3 minutes, and they had to put him back in. But, you know, I really enjoyed watching him play. And then, of course, you talk about France. Oh, they got 3 guys that are in the NBA off of that team, too. And so, you know, you see with the way professional basketball is going, it's so strong in Africa, in Europe, in Eastern Europe, in the Scandinavian countries. I mean, they could probably even dribble around in England. It's going to improve.
Oh, it's just going to keep going up. Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi win their 5th gold medal in basketball, which is kind of insane.
Well, that's,
you know, a lot of people win multiple gold medals.
They're still playing? Yes, they're still playing and playing well.
Yeah. So, yeah, women win it. Women's volleyball wins the gold medal. So they had a nice tournament, and like I said, it was all great. It was all fun. It still comes back to watching some canoeing and some rowing and some weightlifting and some boxing and all of it.
I just want to make a couple of points here.
Yeah.
There were 11,000 athletes there from 200 countries. Fiji came by air transport, in which they brought food, frozen fish actually.
Okay.
They had 3,500 tons of sand for beach volleyball brought in from Vietnam.
Interesting.
Yes, they had no beach sand, so they brought in sand from Vietnam. Brazil started sending in their equipment over to Tokyo 3 years ago. Now we get to the hard part. 300 horses. The first 36 horses came with 13 tons of food, and they had to go on a quarantine for 2 weeks. My point of all this is,
he always has a point, everybody.
how can they carry this off? And I thought technically they pulled this off magnificently. There was just almost flawless, like Japanese, you would expect from the Japanese people. Why can't worldwide get together enough to get vaccines when you can do that? Take 300 horses over there from all over the world? I also wanted to think that, when they try to think about canceling wrestling again, maybe be cheaper not to take the horses all over the place. But it's another deal. But they can do all this stuff. We can get this together, and you can see the worldwide effort from everybody. Kids hugging kids. 2 long jumpers hugging each other for splitting a gold medal. It's a different deal, this Olympics, and people say it probably shouldn't have happened. It's a good argument there. They tested 30,000 people every day going in there. They found 385 positive cases. Okay. Which wasn't bad, but all this stuff was going on, and I really got to give it to the Japanese for pulling this off and doing this, and I'm sure that there was some flaws and some this and that. But when you have 11,000,
you mean like when you start the triathlon when there's a boat in the way?
The boat's no good. That's a no-no.
Do you realize that it's less than 180 days till the Winter Olympics start in February? I mean, we got to get rested up now, George, because that's going to be 2 weeks, and we're going to be in the same time frame where everything's going to be in the middle of the night. And then there's going to be Bronco sports going on, and playoffs and everything. How are we going to do it?
And fit in my Thirsty Thursday. I don't know. It's going
to be a rough go.
Okay, but then I have to, just because he's from Canada, Andre DeGrasse.
Yeah.
What a job. He really can run fast, and he had the will to win this. So I say this for my friend Rennie, because he just loved it. You talk about any Canadians? No, we try not to, but
we did. And of course, they had the Canadian won the decathlon as well.
They did,
with over 9,000 points, and for Damien. Anyway, he did. Wow.
And they won soccer.
And they won the women's soccer. Do you realize that this kid that won the decathlon, I call him a kid because everybody's a kid now with those athletes, this Damien dude, in the long jump, he won the long jump, he scored like 1,100 and some points. With his long jump, he'd have placed 3rd in the men's long jump. He'd have placed 3rd. He's a decathlete.
Yeah.
He does 10 events. He'd have taken 3rd in the long jump in everybody in the world that was there. His jump was 3rd best at the Olympics.
Well, that would have been his strong point then.
That's a strong point. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Anything else about the Olympics?
No, we could talk about wrestling for a couple of days, but
we might get my mom to turn off the TV or the video if we keep doing that.
Well,
she's not into that wrestling.
I'll tell you what, Steveson made it back in last night. He said hi to his mom and dad and his brother, and then he went out with his audience and stayed there till everyone had an autograph or a handshake or whatever they needed. He did not leave till his crowd. This guy's a showman. We haven't had a showman like this since Vern Gagne, and he's probably a better one. So, I want PJ to run down and say, hey, why don't you come over and join us for a little football fall, and that would really be,
if he was a showman, that's what he would do. But I don't think he's going to do it. he's got that wrestling season coming up that he needs to be worried about.
Yeah, geez, I don't know why he should worry about that wrestling season.
So how about the Twins going on the road, winning 5 out of 9, and taking 3 out of 4 from the AL West leading Houston Astros? How's that?
Well, and what can I say? And Jorge's the only one I can remember.
Hip hip hooray!
I don't know
bat
these guys.
still got the bat going. Still got things going. Like I said, Houston's a very good team. Houston's got a very good chance to win the American League pennant. Period.
I actually told
and for the Twins to go win 3 out of 4 in Houston, there's hope.
Well, maybe does this happen when you change up your pitching staff, or all of a sudden you're going into a place nobody's seen you before? Or, I mean, what's this work?
Yeah, I'd like to say they kind of got everything kind of went together. They got enough hitting, they got enough starting pitching, and I really want to say the bullpen really was kind of the key. Kind of held it together. They didn't blow up, didn't give up these big innings for the most part.
How many of the top 10 or 11 started out this season in the major leagues?
Wow, probably, well, if you count 8 of them, I mean, probably of the top 10 or 11, probably 6.
Yeah.
So they've had
to, in youth.
Yeah, they've had to make some adjustments. Buxton, they're saying he's going to be practicing with the team now that they're back home, and they're hopeful that he'll get a chance to play some here down the stretch.
I hope he doesn't get real hot. They'll sell him. That was meant to be.
We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
But the Twins, a good start. Wyatt Ulrich, last week when we talked about Wyatt, he had lost his on-base streak at 51 games. 7 games since then. He's had a hit in every one of those games.
He has.
He batted 11 for 29 this week, which works out to 379. His season batting average is 378. He just continues to keep cruising on, keep doing what he does.
There's 2 guys in the team hitting better than him, but one's been playing for 4 games and the other one's been playing for 25, and he's been in there hammering day in and day out. He's got some pretty good numbers.
Yep.
They're not bad at all. No, pretty happy for.
So if I do the numbers, and I haven't did them specifically, but I think he's played 61 or 62 games, and he's been on base in 60 of those. On base in 60 of those games.
That's not bad.
It's ridiculous.
So I mean they're going and playing all this month, but that should pretty much bring the season to an end.
Right towards the end of Labor Day, I believe, or right around Labor Day is the end of the regular season.
Okay.
So it's pretty close to in there.
Okay.
So I think it's 112 game season that they played, somewhere in that number. Probably it's less than that. I probably screwed that up. But anyway, it's coming around. And anything else in the Major League Baseball that caught your eye?
My friend Barrios is pitching really well, and Nelson Cruz is hitting the whop now and again. So
well, he's coming to town this weekend.
I know it.
Tampa Bay's coming into Minnesota, so we'll get the return from Nelson, and I'm sure there'll be lots of hugging and handshakes and tears and everything else. And you know who we haven't talked about on this show much lately as far as baseball goes? Your good buddy Shohei Ohtani.
Well,
ever since the All-Star game and he did what he did, things have kind of quieted down.
Well, he hasn't been hitting the way he should be, and so maybe there's that midsummer slump. But with a bat like that, he can pop out of that.
You think maybe the pitchers have figured him out?
Maybe.
That'd be the sign of a good hitter. If he can find his way out of this slump, I call it a slump. If he can find his way back in, that's when you tell if you've got a true major leaguer, because
he reminds me of Aaron Judge, and just because he gets into these slumps, and all of a sudden you figure, geez, maybe those pitchers are figuring him out, and then he whaps one about 500 yards.
It's part of the deal.
It's part of the deal. Yeah.
You want to talk football?
Let's talk a little football.
What do you want to talk about with football?
Well, I'll tell you what. I talked to my friends down in the cities, and there's nobody happy about Kirk Cousins. I don't know what's the first the preseason game next Saturday.
This coming Saturday.
This coming Saturday, and most of them just say, we don't care if you win a game all year, and I mean, I don't want to sit around and criticize Kirk Cousins too much, but I understand he's not a real personable guy. And then for him to come up with this and people don't understand, where he's coming from or what he's coming from. But the fact of it is, as I'd say, get these shots or you can't be around my team. You got a team to protect there, and it's just...
The rumor out there, and I don't have any facts to this, but the rumor out there is that the Minnesota Vikings have the lowest percentage of vaccinated players of any team in the NFL.
Isn't that something?
No, I don't. You can take that whichever way you're out there. Those of you that are watching, some of you are vaccinated for sure. Some of you are anti-vaxxers. You've got your side. But this is an interesting thing because I'll say it this way, and we've talked about this. Head coach Mike Zimmer, pro-vaccination, and he has got the team that has the least percent of players vaccinated.
So you're saying the coach isn't happy?
This is a volatile situation because I see if things go south, somebody gets COVID again, like what happened with what happened over the last week. Plus, this thing, I believe, I'm hopeful that the Vikings can make a run to the playoffs. I think the defensive pieces are there. Yes, are they going to be 13-3? No. Are they going to be 9-7, 10-6? Yes, I think they can be there if things go the right way.
Can they win their division?
I don't think they can probably beat the Packers right now the way things are going because of their volatile situation. This is a team that is on a very sharp knife because this thing can go this way or this way in a big hurry, and it's tough to see what happens. And I won't be throwing the baby out with the bathwater too soon. There's lots of talent there. Darrisaw, the lineman, he's been out with a groin injury. That's got me very concerned. The offensive line, we talk about that all the time on this show, that the offensive line is key to this, and without that, they've got issues. But when your offensive leader has this problem, philosophical issue, there's that's a good way of putting it. And then Justin Jefferson goes down with a shoulder tweak the other day and other things, and it's just kind of like, okay, this is a very tense situation, but it is what it is.
Maybe we could trade them even up with Green Bay.
Right. Let's see if we can do that.
That's my way out of the problem.
Hey, I want to talk about the Canadian Football League if I might for a second or two. My Blue Bombers, I should have wore the hat tonight, but they came through, got a 19-6 win to defend the Cup. They won it in 2019 and no season last year for the CFL. But here's the stat of the week. Saskatchewan is playing, not Calgary, that's wrong. Saskatchewan was playing Calgary. No, not Calgary.
Edmonton.
BC. Sorry, I'm going to get it right. So it's 28-0 in the second quarter in favor of Saskatchewan, and I'm like, close the phone down, it's time to go to bed. Woke up the next day, the final score 33-29.
Oh.
So Saskatchewan was up 31-0.
You got all those guys running around, anything can happen.
31-0, and you got to win 33-29. Scary stuff. Anyway, the Edmonton Elks, they're no longer the Eskimos.
They're not. Oh, yeah,
they changed their name.
Well, that's good.
So they won the other day, 16-12. And so anyway, good start to the CFL season. I'm a big fan, so we'll be talking more and more about that as the season goes along.
Yeah.
And of course, the Gophers started practice last week. And
I'll tell you, if PJ could go out and play,
there would be no problems.
We'd be on our way to the Rose Bowl. But it's.
Did you hear what was said about your good buddy Daniel Faalele on the radio the other day?
Yeah, they said he dropped 40 pounds and he's moving like lightning.
Yeah, isn't that a little scary for the opposition? Because Daniel, and I don't like to say his name because it's a tongue twister, Faalele, he went about 4'10" 2 seasons ago, 405 somewhere
6'9".
6'9" from Australia. They say he's lost about 30 pounds. He's down in that 375 range. But his teammates said that it's like he lost 60 because you should see him move.
Well,
That's scary.
He's got arms this big
That's
around.
scary.
You know, he's
He called
a
him a
very fine
freak.
athlete.
He called him a freak like
called
4
him a
times
freak.
within about a 10-second
Yeah,
span.
he's a freak.
He's a freak.
He's a freak. We'll never
that's
have
a
another
compliment.
freak like that again. And you know, and I'll tell you, you know, is he a senior this year? I think he has another year.
I think he gets an additional year.
But the NFL's watching this kid closely. They see potential, and with size like that, and movement like that, why not?
Anything else football-wise?
No, I just think I'm real optimistic about the Gophers. I think that this is this talented team. But I said that at the beginning of last year before everything filtered away. Yeah.
Did you watch any of the Hall of Fame induction ceremony this weekend at all?
I caught there was some of the speeches that came on afterwards, but no, I
They overdid it with the whole 100 years, 20. They put in like 20. It was too much. It was just like, I'm sure it was great and whatever else. But I'm not big into those Hall of Fame speeches because, you know, we've only got a Hall of Fame ceremony coming up this weekend. I'm not into that kind of stuff.
No,
right?
there was a guy, a professor came out and he says, this is my friend during the speech. What was it? It was a watch, and he put it right there. That tells me when
it's time to go.
When it's time to quit. Yeah.
It's good policy.
Yeah, it
good
is.
policy.
Yeah.
What else?
Oh, I don't know. We're not done yet, are we?
No. But what's next?
No, I'm just.
Like I said, the Bronco Athletic Hall of Fame coming up this Saturday. We are inducting Bob Bateman, the only Bronco ever to play Division I basketball. We've got Ronnie Beck. He only played 58 high school games in goal and only won 58 of them. That's not a mistake.
That's not bad, is it?
58-0. Jeannie Blaze Corn, who still holds the school record in the high jump at 5'8", and we also got Dick Lepage, who was named All-American as a high school football player back in '51. Not too shabby there. Went on to play a year with the Gophers and went to Bemidji State, and then went up into Manitoba and became a pretty big wheel up there with their like Minnesota State High School League, the Manitoba Association up there. And just did a great job, and of course the 1957 hockey team going in, and so it's a good class.
It is a good class,
and we've been waiting 16 months to put them in.
Yes, and it's time.
We are ready.
It is.
So.
Yeah, in fact, we got several people here that'll be going to that.
So, good times.
So,
what'd you dig out there?
Oh, I was just looking over some of my stuff here, but that was more Olympic stuff. But I think I must have left some of my notes at home, and that would be too bad.
The Loons did all right on Saturday night for themselves. Robin Laud, who continues his torrid scoring pace, got the first goal, and they got a second one in the second half, and win 2-0. They're now in 5th place in the Western Conference. They play a rare Tuesday night game at San Jose. You're going to stay up 9:30 start tomorrow night. We're taping this on Monday.
I'll put that on. I'll put my feet up. I'll take my soda water and I'll sip it, and then 15 minutes later I'll be nodding.
Be napping. That's probably the way it'll go for me as well. Yeah. But the Loons are playing incredible ball. I think it says they have not lost at home for 7 consecutive games, and so when they're at home, they're very tough to beat, and they've been very good since the middle of May. So let's hope this continues as we head towards the playoffs coming up in October and November.
So when do high school sports start?
High school sports practices start next Monday, the 16th.
Okay.
And we'll get things started, and the first game is August 26th. And from August 26th, that's on a Thursday, through the following Friday, we'll have a volleyball game, and we'll have both days of the the IFBC, the Bass Championship, on the radio, and then we'll have a swimming and a volleyball match on Tuesday, and then we'll have football on Thursday and football on Friday.
Oh boy!
So it's a great start to the year, and of course, Coach's Corner is coming back. And,
so who are you going to have in this Coach's Corner?
Well, the first one, this one coming up this Saturday, we'll have Jim Worley and Tony Nagurski from the 57 hockey team.
Good job.
And then Jeannie Corn will be the only other one, as Dick Lepage, as I mentioned, up in Manitoba, can't come across yet, so unfortunately we'll have to do without him in person. And then Bob Bateman had a trip to Wyoming planned, a fishing trip to Wyoming. He's actually flying in Saturday, so I hope that there's no issues with him flying back in. and and Ronnie Beck had a family commitment in the morning, can't make it up at 9 o'clock, but we'll be there in the afternoon. So it'll just be me and 3 of those Hall of Famers, and we'll talk about some memories and what this means and all that other stuff.
I never met Bobby, but we were fortunate enough to have his father, George, our senior year, and then he retired. But George Bateman was total inspiration to everybody, and he was a remarkable man. And even years later, he'd live up in Dove Island, and he'd be blind, and I'd come over and I'd say, "Mr. Bateman, it's George Frey." "George, I remember you. I remember where you sat." And I says, "Well, this is my wife." "Who are you?" I'm Margaret Schneider." "Oh, I remember you." And his mind was just about as sharp as he just couldn't see. He'd be out there picking berries and chatting away, but he was really an amazing guy. So I'm not surprised that Bob comes home for this
Bob in 1963, he was named the Big Ten Medal of Honor Award winner, given to the student athlete from each school who epitomizes what it means to be a student athlete. And so, to me, of the many honors that Bob won through the years, the championships and everything else, to me that tells you about the man.
Well, in those days, Saturday afternoon, they would have Big Ten basketball on, and I remember once or twice they would have it, and Bob Bateman is introduced as the starting guard. And we'd all seen him play in high school and stuff, so he wasn't bad in high school either, and so incredibly fast. And so that's how he was able to, and he actually lost his job because he just really wasn't quite fast enough, but he was really a super fine athlete, and certainly deserves to be in this Hall of Fame.
He averaged 9.6 points per game his senior year. Obviously, he was an integral part of the team.
He was.
And like I said, the only Bronco to ever play Division I basketball. It seems odd to say that. I mean, we've had some pretty good basketball players, but they've gone on to do other things, but not play Division I basketball. Obviously, Division I hockey players is another story, and Division I football players and such are different stories. Division I is a big deal, and for him to play Division I basketball in the Big Ten, because the Big Ten was a pretty big deal at that time, it just kind of shows you how impressive it is.
Yeah, and he heads-up athlete completely right down the line. And just a couple of comments about that 57 hockey team. Of course, they had the great Oscar Malley and Tom Morris, and these guys went on to do great things down at the U and on the USA teams and stuff. They had a pretty sharp team. And so, Pop's always had talent for that bunch, and that 57, that was his favorite because that was his first.
That was the first one to win it, and of course they were state runner-ups the year before, and used that, I'd like to think 64 years later, that they used that experience from 56 to win it in 57.
Well, and the other thing is Jeannie Corn's going to go on there, and of course she has a brother that's already on that Hall of Fame, in Deanie Blaze, and so we've had fathers and sons type thing. This is the first brother and sister, I think, that we've put together.
I believe that to be correct.
And both incredibly deserving of this honor.
Absolutely.
Love Jeannie.
Yeah,
she's
good stuff. The video of the ceremony will be up on YouTube a few days later. The Lady Darcy, who does our editing and gets us up on the air, she will be there to record it, and it'll be up on KCC forever. So if you are unable to make it to the actual ceremony, you'll be able to chance to watch it there. So we appreciate everything that Darcy does for us, and KCC TV and the rest of it. We couldn't do it without her.
Oh boy, that's a fact.
What else? Anything else?
Well, no, I took those Olympics took so much of my time, and all of a sudden you sit around and you think, baseball, I could take a week off from that. Football, on the other hand, was creeping in no matter what you could do, and you follow the paper and you just start. Something's not right with that Vikings team, and somebody has to figure out how to straighten that out. Otherwise, I'm afraid Coach Zimmer somewhere along the line might lose his job, and I'd hate to see that because I think he's a good football coach.
Yeah, he's, and I think that's why he's fighting so hard, because his job is on the line.
Yeah.
And so something's going to have to give. I agree. We didn't talk any hockey because there was no big hockey, and we talked very little NBA basketball. We did talk a little bit about it. Free agency, the Timberwolves have done basically nothing. Got rid of your good friend Ricky Rubio.
And who had a fine Olympics.
Had a fine Olympics. Why can't he play that way when he puts on that Timberwolves uniform? Nobody can explain it. He puts on a Utah Jazz uniform, plays lights out. Goes puts on a Phoenix Suns uniform, he go play lights out. Go give him a whatever uniform, he'd play great. But put that Minnesota Timberwolves uniform on him, it's like kryptonite, baby. Boom, we gave him 2 chances to prove that he could play basketball in the Timberwolves jersey. He couldn't do it. You filthy.
Well, I can always tell it's him because he has that knob in the back of his head, and it kind of squirts all over the place. But I do like Ricky Rubio. I always have.
And Darcy, I don't know if you did it on purpose, but the picture on YouTube of me with my hands up, apparently everybody loved that. So I don't know if you can do it again, but anyway.
Yeah, you got to have.
And they liked the car in the background, or should I say they didn't like the car in the background. I don't have the keys. I can't hotwire it. Turn the camera. Hey, we got work to do. We got places to go. Anything else?
No, that kind of does it for me. It's
the Blues Man. If you haven't seen his picture on Facebook, go to my Facebook page, look me up on Facebook, and see the picture of the man in his fedora and his Billie Holiday T-shirt with the black background. Very sexy.
I paid a lot of money in the studio to get that done. No, off the Sue's phone.
She did a heck of a job. It was a great picture.
Oh yeah.
Everybody loved it. I shared it out there and got lots of positive reactions.
Got more response to that picture than the 60 songs that we played over the course of the last month and a half. That's a little bit discerning to me, but we'll get there.
It is what it is.
We got some good phone calls last week, and we give away a T-shirt. And listen to Billie Holiday. You can't do much better than that.
Can't do much better than that.
And look at, I got this.
He's got his Big Ten wrestling shirt on.
From 1986. That was a long time ago. 14 years before.
That's a classic. That shirt's a classic.
It just goes to show you, if you take good care of your clothes, they last.
There you go. Anything else?
No.
Thanks everybody for watching. We're taking next week off, remember. We'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Oh.